Oh, hi, everybody. Welcome once again to Discover South Florida Live as we come to you from Podcast Junkie Studios in downtown Boca Raton. This is Larry Mastropieri, broker owner of the Mastropieri Group. He's the boss and the hoss with the sauce and the horse. I'm John Laws of Discover South Florida, and we're here to talk about real estate and discovering ourselves. So that's what Discover South Florida is all about. Would like to take a moment to congratulate the Seattle Seahawks on their Super Bowl 60 victory, and put one up for the New England Patriots for now losing more Super Bowls than any other franchise ever with 6. Forget the fact that if they'd won, I think they would have the most with 6, but I digress. All right, let's talk about real estate now. Larry, we're not going to talk about the fact that it's Valentine's Day weekend, despite it being on this sheet, because that's kind of weird. What we will talk about, and I'm sure you're in favor of this as well, is the question, are foreign real estate investors walking away from the U.S.? Well, we know that's been kind of happening for a little while now, but we're going to focus at least in part on the Canadian snowbird exodus and what it means for South Florida. Because come to find out, more than half of Canadian property owners in the U.S. say they want out. And this is all within the next year. Canada isn't the only country that's rethinking its real estate investments here. Larry, we've talked about this in the past. Are you buying into the hype? What have you seen in the market? Are your Canadian buyers and sellers saying, so long, or hey, we're not interested in coming here? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so a portion of the real estate we sell are condos, right? And so I would agree with some of these polls here that, one of the polls is that here in Florida, agents are saying they received 0 offers from Canadian buyers during peak season. That's never happened before. Is the commentary in this article. And some sellers are taking losses just to get out. And so we know this. This is a conversation I'm literally having every single day.
Right.
It's like, man, we just, it's a constant thing every day. It's just like, hey, on the condo front, it's hey, we're adjusting price. We're not getting the offers. We thought we might get deals done here, but it's looking like it's less. Right. And so we need to make adjustments. And so that in part is due to Canadians. How much? I'd say a decent percentage, but I think it matters. And the fact that we don't have a lot of Canadians shopping for condos down here, which is true. This is the thing. It's like less Canadians are buying down here and more Canadians are trying to sell. And so that just compounds the issue that we already have in the condo market. And by the way, Canadians typically love the condos. So, right?
Oh, because they're snowbirds.
They're snowbirds. They can lock up and leave. You want to be close to the ocean, usually when you come from a cold place, right? True. So you want to be by the beach. That's kind of the thing. That's the reason why to be here. You're not going to move all the way out west, wherever, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's a thing. We're definitely experiencing this. What else are they saying here? So on this poll, so let's see, 78,100, which is the number of foreign buyer home sales. 1.9% of all home sales. So that's interesting. Let's see, $56 billion, which is the dollar volume of foreign home sales. So it's not suggesting that they're talking about volume, it's not suggesting that the volume overall is going down when it comes to total international transactions, right? But it says here, top destinations, international transactions in the U.S., residential real estate market, right? And so it says top destinations, 21% Florida. Top countries of foreign origin, China is up there, Canada, Mexico, India, United Kingdom, UK. And so it's showing this dollar volume here on the screen, which is kind of interesting overall. It's not suggesting that volume has gone down. Median foreign buyer purchase price. Most of these are up. Right, year over year, 4% up. I mentioned dollar volume from year over year, 35% higher. So that's like the signal that we're kind of looking at. So it's like the total number of deals have kind of slipped, but because the dollar volume's higher, that suggests that the buyers that are buying more expensive things. So the luxury buyers are still doing whatever they want. Which is
well, that's not changing anytime soon. Yeah,
which is always the thing. So at certain levels, you feel it differently, right? So in these like $1 million and less condos, on the ocean or on the island here in South Florida, well, you're feeling it. You're feeling it. But then when you get into like the $10 million condo, less, right? You just feeling it less. There's not as many of those either, right? And they're usually updated and they're not as price sensitive. And that's the big thing. Price sensitivity is a big reason why the condo market's changing, right? Increased insurance prices, as we've talked about over and over again, right? Increased association assessments. But in these big luxury buildings, they're either newer or the owners have no problem paying $100,000 assessment,
Right.
So, yeah, they just do it. And they might not like it, but they'll do it. So,
as I'm looking at some of the bullet points on this, I see how China is still the number one foreign buyer in the U.S., which fascinates me because I was under the impression that there were more restrictions or limitations on the amount or that China could buy here at all.
You know what's funny about that? So I was talking to the title company the other day about this because we were dealing with some foreign nationals, and I was just like, "Hey, are there any issues we got to contend with on this?" And so, long story short, they were just like, "Hey, well, it's been challenged in court, yada yada yada. So it's questionable if it's even applicable. Any of these new rules that were applied." Right. Mm-hmm. And so the answer was like, hey, well, we're just not, we're kind of at a standstill with this.
Yeah.
So the answer is yeah, there's some version of it that makes maybe less Chinese people or whatever interested in doing business here because of that. Mm-hmm. But the reality is there's really not a restriction, believe it or not, at this moment. There was a moment where everyone was doing these forms. We had to fill it out. We had to communicate when we were working with foreign nationals. Now it's like, it's not even really a thing.
Really?
It's a thing on the tax side when we're selling foreign national property and they're going to move their money back home. Mm-hmm. The IRS needs a cut of that, and so there's documents, et cetera. So we have to be privy to that. So we need to know if you're a foreign national and selling your home. Mm-hmm. Because where are you bringing that? Where are you taking that money? If you're a U.S. citizen and you are a German citizen, as an example, well then no problem, right? That you don't need to do any documentation because you're a U.S. citizen. But if you're not a U.S. citizen and then you bring your money back to Germany or Canada or wherever, well then it becomes this what we call FERPTA. So long story short, that applies. But the restricting people from buying real estate. Not really a thing. Not really a thing.
What a myth.
Yeah. Well, it's not a myth. They tried to do it, and there was documentation, and we were doing that for a while. So It's a thing. So you're not wrong. But it's a thing. So, all right. So what else were they saying here that was
if Canadian sellers keep flooding the market, particularly in the condo heavy communities, as you had mentioned, it's more inventory for local buyers, obviously, but the condo owners in this case should pay attention because the exit would add to inventory problems that have already made it worse with also, as mentioned, the rising insurance and those new 40-year building assessments. So...
yeah, like back to the compounded problem. It's like, okay, we're already having a soft condo market, and maybe soft is a gentle term, and maybe we should use something more aggressive. But and then you layer in, okay, Canadians are selling and also not buying, and so demand drops, supply increases, prices fall. Well, right.
And they have. I mean, the prices are still noticeably falling from what you're seeing out there.
It's substantially different. Yeah,
really?
It's substantially different. There's no question. You can't even challenge that. And you know what we're going to do for anybody who's listening? We've been asked this 100 times now. Like, we're going to do an actual video on like, what does the condo market actually look like by the numbers? Mm-hmm. And we'll break it down for everyone one of these days soon here. So, yeah.
So in other words, we were having these discussions and these videos 2 years ago about the condo crisis. Everybody talking about the condo crisis. Everything's coming down. So I'm looking forward to seeing that video because we've been talking about it for so long. It's like, okay, did the sky actually fall? And what does it look like now? Because the reality, I don't know what's happening.
The reality is the sky, like, it hasn't fallen at this like level where we're just crashing, mm-hmm. right? It's not, but it is. Prices are coming down, and things are harder to sell without question. And so, a lot of people who sold 2 or 3 or 4 years ago we're in a way better situation.
But when you say that you're having a hard time selling them despite the fact that the prices are coming down, that's because of the assessments that are attached with it and the insurance rates, or what's going on?
Demand overall. So like all these things we're talking about, people just don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. They're either scared of it or they understand it and they're just like, oh, this isn't worth it, right? Mm-hmm. Insurance costs are up. HOA fees are up, maintenance requirements are up, reserve fees are up, and all those things, or most of those things, are derived basically from the collapse, the condo that collapsed,
right,
and the new law changes. So you have all that, and then again you just layer in like foreign money slows down a little bit. Such as Canadian money. The other thing they were saying is the Canadian dollar is sitting somewhere around 69 US cents. So that's also a factor when you're moving your money across borders.
Yeah.
We've talked to a number of Canadian sellers who are like, well, if I bring my money back home, I actually make money right now. So why not bring make money, whatever. I make money if I bring it back home. And so a lot of these sellers are really considering that, or Canadians are really considering selling for that reason. So that's a thing. That is absolutely a thing. Also, this new rule, what is the new rule? It says, and now there's a new rule where foreign visitors over 14 have to register and get fingerprinted if they're staying.
Which we had talked about days. That, yeah.
Yeah, this isn't cool. It's like a super annoying.
Right.
I understand like tracking who's in our country. I totally get it. Like kind of. Whatever.
Apparently, there's been a lot of fights about it. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, I get that. But if you're a Canadian that would come down for 3 or 4 months, now you got to do this registration thing.
Yeah.
It's a little annoying. I'd be annoyed by it but on the other hand, I kind of understand why. And then the big thing is this, and this is like evidence because we do this for our clients all the time. It's like, well, how much traffic is our listing getting? If we're getting enough virtual traffic, then that will translate into the number of people that are saving it, the number of people who are touring it, and the number of offers we're getting and the feedback we're getting, right? And so what they're tracking here is online traffic from Canada on Realtor.com dropped 4.5 points. 4.5 points year over year. So return flights from the U.S. to Canada are down 13%. Car crossings dropped 32%. So this is a real thing. This is not. Yeah, this isn't like I don't know.
Kind of putting your spin on the numbers, because just as you were breaking down the first chart we were looking at when we were discussing this, it's like you can interpret this in a number of different ways, but those stats.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And so the consequence here isn't just real estate, right? The consequence is, well, there's less Canadians buying and shopping and doing their thing here. And so that has an effect as well. Although I'll say this, like, I don't know, it's pretty busy outside. Right? We're in downtown Boca. I mean, it's not.
People are waving. I have the attention span of a gnat anyway, so I kind of keep looking.
Yeah. There's plenty of people in the window, looking at us. It's there's action here. So I don't think South Florida is by any means really hurting, but it's all good. So yeah, let's move on to the next topic.
All right, so we just talked about foreign investors pulling back and what that means for South Florida, but here's the other side of the coin. While some international money may be leaving, major American companies are choosing to come here. And it's not just any company, it is the world leader in quantum computing, Larry.
Here we go. D-Wave Quantum, which is publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, right? And they've announced that they are relocating their corporate headquarters from Palo Alto to Boca Raton, which is pretty.
That's an interesting move. That's wild. A big move. Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah. So they're setting up in the Boca Raton Innovation Campus, which we've talked about in the past, which has a lot of history. That's the old IBM complex where the personal computer was born, right? So this is where Boca Raton got its name, the Silicon Shore, right? Mm-hmm. So they're relocating here, and that's pretty.
It's good. They're like, no Palos too alto for us here in Boca Raton.
And that's where it's located. You can see it on the screen right there, which is in like a really prime location in Boca, right off the highway, right in between a lot of residential. And there's big. We've talked about this. We've done other videos on this. There's big plans for this complex.
Yeah.
everything is going there.
Well, have they broken ground on that yet?
They're doing work all over the place.
Are they?
There. So like it's just I don't know if they've broken ground on any of the bigger stuff that we've talked about, right? So how many? I don't even know off the top of my head how many square feet there is inside that thing, but there's like infinite square feet.
It's a big campus.
It's a big campus.
Yeah.
There's infinite square feet. They're building residential, more office, LA Fitness, whatever. All that stuff is all connected to that. There's the Tri-Rail.
I believe it's 1.7 million square feet.
There we go. Oh, we have it here.
Yeah, say for anybody keeping score at home.
Yeah. All the square feet. They have it all. So this is kind of interesting. And so this is no like small deal. And then Boca Raton says we're gonna do something here. And so D-Wave is taking 25,000 square feet at BRIC, the Boca Raton Innovation Campus, but Boca Raton, Florida Atlantic University is buying. Are they spending $25 million on this? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
for
that quantum computer?
So they're buying
on campus. Yeah.
a quantum computer from D-Wave, which is kind of interesting. So like this is like really going to build our pipeline of
right.
talent.
I mean, because I had imagined that's one of those, and it's a good flex in light of all the emerging technology related to AI and quantum computing. I couldn't tell you anything else about it. I know it's a big deal to have one, It's one of those. It's like, I can't tell you anything else, but we got a quantum computer on campus, and virtually no other schools can say that right now.
In the world, technically.
Yeah, that's
in the
crazy.
World. So this
Good
is like
them.
FAU's strategic move to become a leader in something very specific.
It's a good time to do it.
Sounds like the right thing to do. I'm surprised no other schools. Well, I guess I get it. $25 million is no small amount.
And I'll bet that was probably a discount for them coming to town.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I'm just guessing.
Well, hopefully it's like it's worth the spend. You know what I mean? Like you can make big bets like this, and then like
so it's not just like the world's biggest calculator.
Right.
It's like, yeah, but man, you should see it help me with my math homework.
Yeah, you make this bet and then it like collects dust at the university.
It's like a Laserdisc player.
Yeah. This like reminds me of like when you like the NASA computers that brought people to the moon, right? It's like you're basically putting one of those in, but different. We're gonna look back on this and be like,
and like nothing's changed. Elon says we're not going to Mars. We're going back to the moon again. Right? So
Elon's going to the moon. Yeah.
Oh man,
this is great.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
So this is a big deal, and you know what's interesting? Just to jump around here again, BRIC. Because I'm just reading this here. They spent $100 million in renovations, and saw over 300,000 square feet of leasing activity in 2025 alone.
Wow.
And it's been rezoned for mixed use, as we were talking about, with plans for over 1,200 residences, a hotel, restaurants, 5,000 seat concert venue. CP Group is turning it into what they call a micro city. So this is the plan to attract these awesome companies and revitalize this like once epic facility, right? I mean, this was the facility back in the day. And then you connect it with FAU, and you got a talent pool there that's being trained to work in the tech sector, and you got millions of square feet of tech companies right down the street.
And we haven't said Stephen Ross or related Ross in any of it. Not that he gets it, but I just feel like every single story where we talk about some huge breakthrough, his name's attached to it. And who knows, maybe there'll be a press release next week that there is. But for the time being, I don't see it.
Absolutely. So, the big question for every time we talk about this stuff is like, why do we care? Well, we care, and this is actually super interesting. We just took a $2 million listing, like I don't know, a quarter mile west of there, and the first thing the owner said was, "Hey, there's all this stuff going on over at BRIC.
Oh,
let's connect with some of those companies." And so again, the expectation here is as you add like high paying tech jobs to the area, you're going to get more demand for this luxury product, especially in Boca, right down the street. Because Boca offers everything, and once you layer in like the actual tech job is right here, and you don't need to go to West Palm or Miami or somewhere else. all of a sudden it becomes this very interesting ecosystem. You got the schools, private, public, that are awesome. You got downtowns and community, and you're close to Delray Beach, and so you have almost everything right there as soon as you connect the final dot, which is bring in like epic companies. And this is the move, and this is what we're starting to see for sure. Yeah. They're joining, it says D-Wave joins a wave of companies leaving California for Florida. A big reason right now, California proposed 5% one-time wealth tax, which is pushing high earners and tech founders to relocate. Thank you, California.
I know. I was going to say, and that will be as political as I get with it, but yeah.
So all I can say is this is what I tell people when they ask me. They're like, hey, what do you think about like holding off on selling? Or what do you think about like if we hold for another 5 years or 1 year? What I can say is, like, generally speaking, I think all these things are net positive. We keep talking about, DeSantis might wipe out, property tax, or hey, there's more of this type of stuff going on in California, or people are fleeing New York because of Mamdani, or right. All these stories are just net positive, and the question is how much do they move the needle? And I would just say, as you layer on all these things, you start to move the needle. And even if you don't move the needle, it changes the psychology of the buyer a little bit to be more positive about buying in South Florida, which is generally positive. So when you kind of layer all that together, how can you not be optimistic about the future, right?
I was going to say, I don't have a stake in it, and I'm excited about it.
Right?
Like, that's really cool.
Right? Yeah, it's awesome. And even if you don't own real estate, well, you still can appreciate, like, okay, there's going to just be more stuff here that's cool.
Progress.
Right? Progress, more great restaurants. It's all this stuff supports cooler businesses here, which is what I like about the growth. So,
okay,
let's talk about soccer star.
Would you like me to?
David Beckham.
Yeah, okay.
Read the transition.
All right.
Do it.
Now that we have these transitions, I feel so obliged to mention them. Let's change the lanes here. We've been talking tech and corporate relocations, but now we've got a story that's going to get some attention. David and Victoria Beckham just made a big real estate move, and it says a lot about what's happening at the very top of the South Florida luxury market. They reportedly sell their Miami penthouse for a whopping $25 million. This is at 1000 Museum, pocketing about $5 million in profit over 6 years. But the real story is what this tells us where the luxury market is heading across South Florida. Does it though, Larry? Does this one sale really, really tell you where the luxury real estate market's going?
You've heard...
for $25 million, obviously, that's a whole lot of money. But I feel like with some of the places we talk about here, I'm like, what, that's it? It's, geez.
And I was just going to be like, $5 million in 6 years?
Right.
$1 million a year?
Oh, wow.
Amateur hour. I don't know.
It's true. I mean, just last week we were talking about Sean Hannity. He's, we'll see what he gets for it, but he took an estate that he had bought for $22 million. He put it on the market for $44 million in a year. So I'm like, all right. So,
and let's also say here right now, like, okay, he bought that in 2020. Right. So it's 6 years. Right. So he paid $20 million in 2020, sold it for $25 million. I mean, 2020 is when it started to run a little bit. I'll give him that. So, but like I can think about investments we made and or what some of the deals we brokered. Like if you bought in 2019, in some cases you've doubled your money, So this is great. I mean, here's the thing. This, brand new, he bought it for $19.8 million. And then let's see, the off-market deal closed. Okay, so he did an off-market deal. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't market it, and maybe he could have got more. Who knows? I'm sure he did well. I'm sure he didn't really care as much, right?
Oh yeah.
But either way, we've seen this too in this like new product. So basically, he bought a Zaha Hadid designed building, right? Super famous architect, really big deal. My fiance loves her as a designer. Yeah. So long story short, he bought this new construction. But what we have seen new construction, I'd argue maybe what you and I are commenting on right now is like the opposite of what the storyline shows. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, he got out good, but we've sold property or represented buyers in these buildings that are new construction that had the opposite experience.
Really?
They bought new in 2020, 2021, and now there's enough inventory on the market that they're selling for what they paid for it.
At best.
And they pre-purchased this stuff. So they purchased it before the product was done, which is a real, like, you're supposed to get value when you do that. You're supposed to buy in cheap in that situation and sell for more once it's done. And some of our guys, our buyers have picked up some good deals recently. Now, slightly different price brackets, right? $3 million, $4 million, $5 million deals versus 20. So, and again, we go back to that story of like, well, that price point, $20 million, just is different.
Yeah, it's those averages, or I should say, it's those numbers that skew the averages. The outliers when you're trying to look at the data.
Yeah. So good for my boy Beckham. I grew up watching him play soccer.
Right.
I love him.
Well,
so bend it like Beckham.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, and Miami downtown is not slowing down. I mean, it's chaos.
I didn't know that was ever in question.
It's not even like there's no chance. It's just like constant construction, crazy work being done. It's traffic everywhere. But if you're living in the city and you're walking, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, if you walk, I was going to say. I mean, the times I'm ever down there, I'm driving, and it's like I feel like I'm getting into a fight with everyone, and I'm just trying to go 2 blocks.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I was like born a cranky old man. So when we talk about this,
you know what's interesting though? So you look at where the building is. Zoom out a little bit. Just zoom out. Yep. So you can kind of get a sense. Okay, so it's like right before you cross over to South Beach, right? In that general area. It's in the heart in the heart of downtownish. And this is what's interesting is Zaha Hadid. She designed this before she passed away in 2016, and this is her only residential tower in the Western Hemisphere.
Really?
And one of her last completed projects, which is kind of interesting. So this has some history to it, for sure. There are only 83 residences in the entire building. Amenities include Miami's only private residential helipad, a double-height pool center, a sky lounge, a full spa, and the only residential building in the world with a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star service rating. Holy smokes. All right. So
only helipad?
No, yeah. Only, right? Is that true? Yeah.
A residential helipad. Okay.
So why the Beckhams sold and what it signals for South Florida. The Beckhams aren't leaving South Florida. Duh.
Well, I didn't know that. I mean, they're British, and maybe they want to go home. I understand.
No, Beckham's got too much invested here. He's got all the big projects he's doing, right?
He's got to do Super Bowl commercials. I mean, there is a lot holding him here.
So in late 2024, they purchased a $72.3 million waterfront mansion on North Bay Road in Miami Beach, setting a record for that street. 9 bedrooms, 124 feet of Biscayne Bay frontage. Epic. The penthouse sale signals a shift from high-rise living to compound-style estates among ultra-wealthy buyers, a trend playing out across South Florida from Miami Beach to Fort Lauderdale to obviously Palm Beach, which is what we've talked about a lot, right?
Yeah.
Across the region, the $20 million plus market remains active. This is what we were talking about. Properties at this level continue to trade often off market, but below that threshold, luxury condo sales above $1 million slipped by about 5% in Q4 year over year, according to analytics for Miami. That softening extended well beyond downtown Miami into Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale, and other coastal markets. Oh, this is interesting. Mark Anthony, Beckham's close
That's what
friend.
when I saw the building, that's what I was immediately thinking of. I was like, oh, he had a place in there too, right?
So they all bailed. So Mark Anthony, Beckham's close friend and godfather to Cruz Beckham, sold his own 1,000 museum unit last fall for $8.6 million, a loss compared to his $11 million purchase in 2022. This is another comment on what we've seen in this market, which is if you bought 2022 and onward, usually what we've seen is sellers are having a hard time selling again for what they paid for it, right? So if you were a buyer in 22 and now you want to sell today, in most cases, you're selling for the same price. So price growth has softened quite a bit. And this goes for everywhere. Like this is like, so in the condo market, it's changed. I think it's gone down a bit. In the single family home market, it's basically been flat growth for 3 years, 4 years. We've had outliers, and so some people might freak out by me saying that, but we've had outliers, but less outliers. They're called outliers for a reason, right? We have more of the masses have basically been selling for the same price they paid for it, if not less, in 2022, 23, 24, 25. So super, super interesting point. And I tell people this all the time. We have a deal right now that we literally just locked up before I walked in here. I'll leave it. I won't talk too much about it because it's still like
don't jinx it.
Not public. But so yeah, it's not public yet, and so I don't want to share. But like the reality is we are very close to that threshold, and this is in the $3 million price range, and so we're close to they bought it in 23. We're basically selling it for a similar price. They've invested money. It's a single family home, and it's and this is the story that plays out every single time. Almost every single time. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. So what does this mean for homeowners? It's the story we just discussed. Like, you know, if you own a home now and you bought it in 22, 23, 24, 25, it's, you know, if you're thinking about getting out and buying and selling and making a profit, it's unlikely. It's unless you did an amazing deal in a very unique location, you added a very unique value set to the property, you're probably selling for what you paid for it or somewhere close. And again, if you sell for what you pay for a property, that means you lost money. Right? Because there's friction costs on both ends, on the buy side and the sell side. Real estate is not that liquid for this reason. It's very costly to transact. So you're losing money if you sell for the same price. Now, if you bought in 2020 or 21, maybe you're okay. Maybe. But some people overpaid in 21 to win. And so if you did a good deal in 2020 and 2021, awesome. It was hard to do a good deal. Yeah. You just had to pay whatever these guys were asking because there's 100 bidders. So that's how the commentary I would say the signals. And so you and I called it out immediately, right? It's like, it's not a big profit margin. That's actually lucky. Yeah. Congrats to him for getting out.
I'm kind of proud of myself for instinctively understanding that.
Listen, you've been hanging out with me enough.
I know. I was going to say, I've come a long way.
All right. Let's talk about this. And this is huge and epic and crazy. And I've been dealing with this a lot with clients. GL Homes has expanded their Westlake footprint with another 192-acre land acquisition for Silver Lake. We can show Westlake on the screen whenever we have a second. So GL Homes just spent $80 million for 192 acres in Westlake to build over 1,000 new homes. This is like wild. That brings their total land holdings in the city to more than 300 acres. They are going all in on this stuff.
Wow.
Which is pretty awesome. They're really pushing hard here. And this is just one of the massive communities that are going up in the Palm Beach County market, in the like North Palm area. They are building new cities up there. For real. I mean, these
Welcome
cities
to GL Homesville.
And not just GL, but GL is a big player.
Right.
GL is one of the biggest. So in our area.
I had to look up where this is. Okay, well, Loxahatchee and the acreage. Okay, yeah, I mean, I know they've been building out there for a while.
And so, Ben, if you pull up the actual map, I think we have, we have a Google Maps here. There's another community that GL is working on. It's just north. Why am I blanking on the name? I'll tell you in 1 second. By Panther National. So why am I blanking?
What?
Darn. Avenir. So that's Westlake we're looking at. Now, Ben, if you just scroll up.
Kind of go north.
Go north a little bit. And you see that other big construction site move your mouse to the right. Boom. Right there. So this is Avenir. And so Avenir is even bigger. GL's got a ton of territory there, along with a ton of other builders. So between Avenir and Westlake a little happened a little sooner or a little earlier. They're transforming the surrounding market there. So like if you own a home in the acreage, right, in Loxahatchee, in that area and you're like close to this Westlake development, this is like pretty epic for you. This is the conversation we had. So if you're an investor and or end user that wants to like relocate and you're cool with this area, you got to understand it's a little out there, right? But if you're cool with it, you can go buy in the acreage or buy in some of these surrounding Loxahatchee neighborhoods, and you can build your own house. You can knock it down. You can buy dirt. You can buy a pretty good square footage. You can renovate this home. I think they're gonna like it, over time. You're just gonna see this whole territory basically just improve dramatically because you have all these new construction homes and then you have these non-HOA homes just right outside of it that have been there forever. Mm-hmm. And historically, they were super cheap, like 2010. It was like you couldn't give these things away. They're in the middle of nowhere, right?
Well, yeah, right. Yeah. I know it's way out there.
And so it is and it isn't. Like if you actually start to like go there and you're like, okay, Westlake, 30-minute drive to downtown West Palm, 40-minute drive tops, right? So, Avenir, same thing, 20 minutes to the beach. You end up on Juno Beach. So there's all these surrounding homes there. We do a fair amount of business in the surrounding area. And so yeah. So GL Homes closed the first phase of the major land deal with Minto Communities, the master developer behind Westlake. The total price tag is $80 million for 192 acres, with a second phase closing next year. The new parcel will become what they call Silver Lake, Westlake, Silver Lake, a single-family community. This follows a 120-acre purchase in 2024 for $29 million that was consolidated through a land swap with Minto to create one contiguous site. So,
well, that kind of answered my next question. As I sort of ponder a lot of this, I was like, who owned this land prior to it? So it was them, and they're doing land trades here.
Yeah, so you get like these big developers. Some just create the opportunity and then sell them to guys like GL or other big builders, or like, so for example, Avenir, there was one developer that kind of accessed or like controlled everything, and then they cut off pieces. They gave some to GL, they gave some to DR Horton, whatever, you name it. I don't know if DR Horton's on the list, but a bunch of different builders up there. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but we were just running around and like shopping with all these builders, looking at all their different houses, which is super interesting. That's something we got to talk about next. We'll bring people up to speed on that. But yeah, and then they just start working together because they're diversifying risk to a degree, and or the ability to execute on a big project like that. So, and that's basically a city in itself. This Avenir, they're building schools. I mean, they're building that's what I'm saying. They're building it's basically Weston 2.0. You know what I mean? On some level.
Okay, that makes sense. That paints a picture. I understand.
Yeah, so that's kind of like they've done this before. They did. Weston is a little better of an example. Like Parkland, they redeveloped, but it was but little by little parcels. But Weston was kind of like this big thing, all in one shot. So, yeah. So Silver Lake will include more than 1,000 single-family homes across a combined 300-plus acre site. That's pretty awesome. And so what's kind of cool about building out in Westlake and Avenir is you're getting a little bit more space. You're getting more, there's some requirements, like in Avenir as an example, to have a certain amount of park space and preserve land. And so, and with these new communities, they're building golf cart paths, running paths, like all this stuff that's just built into a better way of living and just a more of a community experience versus what you have in like Boca Raton, which you can't do this because these homes were already built so many years ago and the infrastructure's there. So it's hard to kind of retrofit and find space. They already have the space. They've pre-master planned this. And so this is like the best. If you're looking for the best, newest communities, I mean, these are the ones to go to because they've experimented on all the other stuff. This is the newest version of the execution. They keep learning from their projects, and they have the land to do it in these areas. So if you don't care about being like in downtown Boca, like personally I care about, then these are like really cool options. Mm-hmm. Especially if you work just in like West Palm or something, which is becoming a thing. These are like it's not crazy to think somebody would live there and commute in.
Well, I know. I was going to say, I guess this is like the South Florida equivalent of the suburbs, if you will. As West Palm Beach continues to grown to a much bigger metro area, in terms of urban space, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's a lot of people that work from home, or we're attracting people that can come down here and relocate and buy that. And usually it's because they have some flexibility financially and or work wise. So so phase 1 already approved by Westlake City Council, covers 294 homes on 40-foot and 50-foot lots with 1- and 2-story designs. The community will feature water on 3 sides, which is pretty cool. A 3,000 square foot amenity center, pickleball courts, and signature GL Homes entry with stone columns and waterfall motifs. Which, if you haven't seen, GL Homes, they do a really good entrance.
Yeah,
it's pretty epic, right?
That's part of the formula, no doubt.
Yeah, it's part of the formula. That's their thing. So, a lot of water features, huge. They use a lot of land to do that. But it looks pretty cool.
It does.
Yeah. So, they're just, GL's just going to keep building until people stop buying. That's just how this goes. Yeah. So a little download on Westlake. We just ranted about it, but Westlake spans 3,800 acres and is entitled for up to 4,500 homes and 2 million square feet of commercial space. The city includes Adventure Park with a water park, skate park, and basketball courts. Compared to other nearby coastal communities, Westlake is positioned as a more affordable, modern alternative with low HOA fees and no CDD, Community Development District fees. The median sale price sits around $615,000. So this is the deal. So I'm selling homes in Lotus, Palm, or Lotus, the original Lotus actually, in Boca for $2 million, and these guys are going to buy awesome homes in Avenir or Westlake for under $1 million. And so they're cashing out because they bought these things in 2019, 2020 before things ran. They doubled their money, and now they're going to sell and go buy this thing up there and enjoy a nice brand new house, fully equipped, and pocket $1 million. And so that's the game that we're seeing happen right now here in Boca for people who don't care about being in this location. Right. So again, this serves a purpose. And for South Florida, these price points, $615,000, maybe elsewhere in the world, you're like, wow, $615 is a lot of money.
But down here, that's actually, that's not
brand
bad.
New construction in South Florida for $615,000 on median. Pretty good. Now there's homes that are $5 million over there. But that's the case. Yep. So beyond Silver Lake, GL Homes controls nearly 5,000 acres in Indian Trail at the Indian Trail site, entitled for up to 4,000 additional homes, combined with projects like Valencia Del Mar and Boynton, Lotus Edge, which we've done a lot of deals at here in Boca Raton. The States at Nomar, which they got about 100 homes going up there, in West Palm, which is a very unique project, which we've talked about before. GL Homes as one of the most active builders in the country or in the county. So, and yes, that's very true. So they're getting after it. Like we said, they're going to keep building until people stop buying, and they're going to keep figuring it out. So again, this is interesting. It's interesting for you to know if you're relocating to the area. These communities are usually a stop along the way. For us, we bring you in there, talk about that, then we go shop at a bunch of other homes, and then sometimes we end up back there, and other times we end up finding something that makes more sense for you outside of the community there. But otherwise, it's kind of interesting to follow these trends, and maybe if you're looking for investment, maybe buying around this area. If you're a developer, maybe developing around this area to kind of catch that trend, because the area is transitioning. All the retail, the Publix, the Walgreens, the whatever, they're all new. It's great over there, right? Everything's perfect. Everything's new, untouched. So, yeah, let's talk about Stephen Ross.
Yeah, so we've been talking about new homes going up in Westlake, but what's driving all this growth in the first place? Well, it's two of the most powerful billionaires in South Florida, and they are once again putting their money behind the answer. Yes, so you have Stephen Ross, Ken Griffin. They plan a $10 million campaign to attract more companies to South Florida because we don't have enough yet. I find this interesting, namely because we've been talking about how so many of these, deals you just assume are being done behind closed doors. A lot of rubbing elbows and negotiating some things. But this, it's like, all right, no, we're just going to put it all out there now. It's like, you know what, we're doing something really cool here. If you want to be a part of it, why don't you come down? That's what this seems like to me.
Yep. So it's called Ambition Accelerated. Right? Frames the Gold Coast, which is West Palm Beach. If you haven't heard that term, Gold Coast, we are in the Gold Coast.
As opposed to the Treasure Coast.
Which is just north of us. And the Space Coast, which is further north. This is how we think about things here in South Florida. So Gold Coast, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. And this positions or frames us up as one of the unified economic corridors, not three separate markets, which is true. We're not really three separate markets. I mean, things are a little different. Miami is a beast all on its own. So is Fort Lauderdale. And West Palm is a very unique, very interesting dynamic as well. But the reality is we are all connected. I mean, we have clients that live in Boca Raton and commute to Miami every day via the Brightline, right? So it's like, it's a thing. This is, we are all interconnected, and it matters. So beyond ads, what does this include? Concierge lifestyle outreach program to connect relocating executives with resources, workforce data, office inventory, leadership introductions, and even with the neighborhood selection and school timelines. Interesting. So just like kind of helping people
And that's
relocate.
useful. And that is definitely useful if you have a family and you're having to relocate.
This is a great headline. I think it's good PR, right? More so than anything. Again,
Ambition Accelerated.
Yeah. Ross told the New York Post. So again, now he's on the New York Post talking about how awesome South Florida is as he's doing. He's on a campaign. The only place a CEO or founder can scale from 10 employees to 10,000 will be South Florida. That's a little wild.
Yeah.
So, which is super interesting. So I mean, again, from my perspective, like, okay, $10 million, that's a big headline thing. We're talking about it right now. He's on every news channel talking about it, and it just continues to push. It's an interesting comment. He's suggesting, hey, this is a place where you can scale, which I think historically has been the hurdle for South Florida. Like if you're in New York City, the diversity of talent and humans that are there is a real thing.
Right.
And then South Florida, well, maybe a little different historically, but now it's changing as we talked about, as we continue to, and as he continues to build schools and so on, right? And like build this whole network out. I mean, he's focused on this. He really is. Yeah. The numbers behind the pitch. Over the last 5 years, 140 plus companies have relocated to Palm Beach County alone, creating 13,000 direct jobs and $1.12 billion in capital investment. This comes from the Business Development Board. That's pretty legit. West Palm Beach and Miami both surpassed New York City as the world's fastest growing wealth hubs. West Palm Beach saw a 112% increase in millionaires over the past decade. So that's interesting too. These are all things that we feel every day here. You know, it just continues to feel that way. The wealth movement is huge. Now, ideally, the wealth movement and the job movement align, and not just like a bunch of billionaires moving here, parking their money, right? That's
kind of a trickle-down effect.
Yep.
Yeah,
totally. So the Gold Coast posted the highest GDP growth among major metro regions over the last 3 years and ranked third in talent attraction. It's all happening, man. South Florida is on its way up. That's for sure. This isn't the peak of South Florida. We've definitely felt a crazy scale in cost of living. That goes without saying, and we're obviously battling that. But on the other hand, this is part of what happens when you attract so many humans here, right? So recent high-profile moves include Wells Fargo. We talked about that. ServiceNow, which is another tech company. Goldman Sachs expansion. Citadel. That was a big one. Yeah. $2.5 billion Miami headquarters build out. $2.5 billion. Let that settle in. Citadel left Chicago. I was just like, we're doing this. We're making this happen. So, and again, I think if you buy in South Florida today and you plan to hold for the long term, you're going to do great. In the short term, we're probably going to see somewhere around flat to average growth, which 1-2% a year. So,
but in most cases, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. when you do real estate investing, you can't expect to normally have a make a huge profit in a very short amount of time. I was always under the impression you buy it for long term. Isn't that how the game's played here?
Well,
I'm confused normally.
Yeah, so that's normal, but everybody's like jaded by the past 15 years. Mm-hmm. The past 15 years was just like this crazy growth. And especially 2020, 2021, rolling into 22, that growth was wild. But now it's like back to like what it once was, which was, Florida's always been boom or bust, right? It's been a little bit of that. But really, we should see some stability. And that's what it feels like we have right now. We should be all grateful for this moment. There's other people that feel that they should be getting double their money on real estate, and we deal with these people every day. But on the other hand, this is where you want to be. This is where you want to do business, where you have like a stable situation, not this like up, down, up, down. How do you make good business decisions like that? You can't. You want stability, and that's where we're kind of living right now. So I'm pretty happy about this. Like, I think
I can tell
some people aren't, but I'm happy. So let's talk about the developer who is planning to fill a lake to build apartments here in Broward County. So this goes back to Palm Beach County. They're probably not filling lakes. They probably have preserves when they're doing development projects. Broward County, especially North Palm Beach. Broward County, on the other hand, we're filling lakes. We have a ton of density here, and this is how we're trying to add more affordable housing. So, a New York-based investment firm wants to fill a lake at a Davie apartment complex to build 72 new units. When there's less than 1% of vacant land left in Broward County, developers start looking for water.
God, that's crazy.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So less than 1% of vacant land left available to build. And so Nuvi, one of the world's largest real estate investors, is seeking approval to expand Cameron Cove in Davie by filling a community lake and replacing it with 2-3-story apartment buildings. It's a 221-unit complex, which was built in 1986 on 21.4 acres. That's, okay. And currently markets itself around a lakefront living experience. The town's planning zoning board was set to consider the site plan on February 10th. If approved, the expansion would add 72 two-bedroom units to a property that currently has almost entirely one-bedroom apartments. So this is interesting. Yeah. And so they had that meeting yesterday, but we don't have an update yet. It doesn't look like. So Some Point Cove LLC filed for application a little while ago, and they believe they're going to get this done, which is interesting. This is like, when you start to talk about this stuff in South Florida, it's like we have flash floods pretty quickly and easily when we have real rain, especially in Broward County.
Oh, right.
Right. And so it's like, removing a lake, you better have good drainage systems in place, good infrastructure. And frankly, Broward County has struggled with that a little bit over the years. So Broward could improve on that. And so ideally they're going to, have modern systems in place when they build this, if they get approved. And they did a developer traffic study, which projects 461 new daily vehicle trips, which I'm sure the neighbors aren't happy about.
No, that means traffic.
Yeah. And by the way, this isn't like a small operator testing the waters. Nuvi manages $141 billion in real estate globally. They see long-term rental demand that justifies to create, the site. So again, and I would agree, right? This is a thing. There's high density there. Apartments are in demand. More apartments in South Florida is going to help bring down overall cost of rentals, cost of purchase. Right? We need this. We need supply. And so, hey, if this is the best idea they have, maybe it's worth considering.
This is the best we can do. We can fill lakes. If that's what it takes, that's what we're going to do.
We're just going to build on the ocean next. We're just going to go out. Yeah. They haven't proposed to take the Everglades away yet.
So, no, right. That's when it's going to get ugly.
That's when I'll be upset about that.
Yeah.
I'll be upset about that.
All right.
Yeah.
So in Davie, a developer is filling a lake because there's nowhere left to build. But in Boca, another team found a different kind of underused land, a Tri-Rail parking lot. And they just locked it down for $100 million to turn it into housing. I believe, didn't we talk about this?
We've talked about this,
Yeah,
but the big news here for us personally, and others may be hearing this for the first time, is they secured the $100 million construction loan.
Oh, good for them.
And this is a 340-unit apartment building. You can kind of see what it's proposed to be. I don't know if we have a location for that.
I was going to say, I could draw it for you because I know exactly.
I know
where
exactly where it
yeah.
is too. It's right down the street from here.
Yeah.
So it's right next to the Tri-Rail station. 340 apartments, 24,000 square feet of retail, which is pretty solid. So Ben, there's a location right here on 680 West Yamato Road, and we'll show you what that looks like. But this is a developer that we've heard from before, right? This is a developer that is called Miami-based.
Because I see signs, because I always go to that LA Fitness there, and when I leave, I see the signs, advertising the construction, and it's nice to see it come to fruition.
Yeah, they're moving dirt over there, so they're rocking and rolling, and that's obviously a signal, but the real signal is they got the money, right? So there's a joint venture going on here. One of the interesting things they were doing is I think they were looking for federal support for building these. And this was one of the first projects where they were using a certain new law or whatever, or some version of a like live local, but for transit communities federally, right? And so that was one of the pitches you and I were talking about last. That made this kind of interesting. So this is an 8-story mixed-use project which will rise on a 17-acre parking lot. It's funny, 17-acre parking lot. It doesn't feel like that parking lot's that big.
I know.
Right?
Well, that's the thing. That is exactly. I was like, no, it does not seem big at all.
Yeah. So parking lot leased. So they've leased the lot from South Florida Regional Transportation Authority through a public-private partnership. Groundbreaking is expected by the end of February. So they've been moving dirt. We've seen it. With completion in 24 months, Tri-Rail just posted record ridership of over 4.5 million rides in 2025. So the timing puts this project at the center of growing demand for rail-connected living here in South Florida. Now, Tri-Rail seems to be doing a little bit better than Brightline right now. Yeah. But Tri-Rail is that affordable system. And we've had that here forever. It's the commuter rail. You stop at every city or multiple locations in a city, so it's very efficient if you're moving up and down, north to south here in South Florida. Whereas Brightline has less stops, but moves you way faster to the main city areas, right? So, yeah. So out of these 340 apartment units, looks like they're gonna offer 600 square foot studios up to 1,300 square foot 3 bedrooms, plus 34 affordable units and 17 workforce units. And then 24,000 square feet of ground floor retail. Cool.
Yeah.
And this area, this shopping center is kind of interesting because there's other stuff there already. But if you add additional retail there,
yeah. I mean, it's all like cool. Restaurants though, mostly. Yep. I'm trying to think. Yeah. But,
yep. Yeah, that's where what's over there? I give a shout out to there's like a meal plan company over there. It's great. Sorry, I can't shout it out. My brain isn't working.
Dude, I'm terrible at remembering those names.
Yeah. Yep. And so it's next to the El Rio Canal. It's next to the Boca Raton Innovation Campus, the Boca Atlantic University, Boca Raton Airport. Like this location's sweet. And it's connected to a whole bunch of other office communities that are like right there. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of like job office space and everything else there. So which is great. Yeah. So here you go. This is what I was referencing. So 13th floor won the site through a competitive RFP from SFRTA to transform publicly owned land, right? This is 13th floor's third link branded transit oriented project, right? Which is interesting. So they're getting some reps in at this. This might be one of their niches now, which is cool. Yep. So again, this is just another way. We need more of this. As you can see, there's developers doing it. they're taking action because there's a real demand for this product right here in South Florida, and hopefully this helps to increase affordability.
Hope so.
That's the big thing.
Yeah. And on that note, we ready to call it?
We got to. So let's call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
On behalf of Larry Mastropieri, broker owner of the Mastropieri Group, I'm John Laws of Discover South Florida. Want to thank everyone for tuning in once again. Forgot to mention Ben Castro, the magician behind the camera who runs Podcast Junkies. Yeah, does incredible work, and we're happy and very, very satisfied with working with him to bring this to you. And we'll just about do it.